Brodie Holland, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of TASSACC Talks. How are you, mate?
G'day, Pete. Yeah, I'm going very well, thanks, matey. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm going really well. Things are pretty good down here in Tassie.
Mm-hmm.
On the northwest coast now,
and little bit better than here in Melbourne, anyway, at the moment.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
just straight off the bat, I just want to say, we're thinking of you down here, and being the Tasmanian that you are, we really care about the people that are one of us, even though they've moved on somewhere else. We are thinking of you and hoping things are going well personally and with your coaching and everything else. And hopefully you get over this pretty soon and things get back to normal.
No, I do appreciate that. Look, we'll get through it, and tricky times, but that's the I suppose the market, or sorry, look, I don't even know what to say at the moment. It is tricky. It's frustrating. Everyone's, I was trying not to talk about it, but I am. It's hard. It's hard for all of us. If it was just a one-off, or it was twice, it was a couple of weeks, you'd go, yeah, wow. But we're into our 480th day of on and off lockdown, so it's frustrating for everyone here in Melbourne. But we appreciate you thinking of us. Thank you very much.
You and I have had a few discussions about this, and it's interesting how this topic divides people, but let's just move on from it. No more COVID talk in this.
Yeah, get on with. Let's talk of footy and sport, mate. Let's get happy again. Come on.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So, you're Tasmanian made and Tasmanian played in the sport of Australian rules, and I was just hoping you could touch on how it all started for you as a player back in the very early days. I believe. Northern suburbs of Hobart.
Yeah. So look, I sort of grew up from 5 or 6 onwards, 5 or 6 years of age onwards, in West Moona, Springfield, Glenorchy area, and went to school at St Virgil's and played a lot of junior footy under 17s at Glenorchy and school footy at St Virgil's as well. So yeah, out in the northern suburbs, spot on.
Good one. Yeah, I wasn't quite so north growing up in Lenna Valley. I call that the inner north, but still north of the city. And what a wonderful city it was and is now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really come along in the last couple of decades. But a lovely place to grow up, and now it's a really nice place to live, I think. So that was a great starting point for you. And just in terms of coaching and influence, I did a little bit of research. Your dad was quite a successful player for Glenorchy. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. Look, Dad played 190 games from memory, I think it was, at Glenorchy, so nearly a couple of hundred games. He's a big cricketer for Glenorchy as well, first grade cricketer. So he's the only player at Glenorchy, or only person at Glenorchy to actually team of the century in both cricket and football, which was a special thing for him. Look, obviously when I was around, I didn't get to see him play. He was off playing country footy and retired fairly early, had a few injuries and so forth, and went bush and did some coaching and so forth. So, obviously we moved back out in that area, and then I was able to play, I think I ended up playing only 3 senior games with Glenorchy. Obviously, was playing a lot of state footy in Tassie Mariners back in those days, so I didn't get really the opportunity to play much footy there. But it was great to be able to at least pull on the black and white Guernsey in the seniors a few times before I got drafted.
Very good, very good. Now it is Don, isn't it?
Don, yes. Donald George Holland, actually, to be technical. But I don't think he likes being called Donald George much. That's what my nan used to call him back in the day. But Don, Don is good.
Yeah, he might know my dad. My dad still is a member of the club, not quite as much into it these days.
Yeah.
Back in that era, my dad would have been hanging around the club quite a bit, as a lot of people were back in those glory days. We're talking late 70s. Was he a premiership player with the likes of?
Yeah, I think 75. 75 was a big premiership. I think they won a couple of points over Clarence, I think, from memory. Don't quote me on that, but they had a win over Clarence, I'm pretty sure. That would have Peter Hudson days as well. So some fair players knocking around in those days. He was the playing coach, obviously. So it would have been a great experience, obviously, to play under the likes of him. But yeah, like Dad tells a lot of stories. Loves telling a good footy story, and most of them I've heard at least a dozen times each. But they never get old. They're still pretty good.
The kicks get longer, don't they? Every time the story gets
do.
told, and
Yeah,
the
that's
marks
right.
are
The
more
marks
spectacular.
the marks get higher as well. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Very good. So I'll just kind of race forward. I think a lot of people would be familiar with yourself and your playing career. Got drafted to Fremantle Dockers, and I think just one season there before you went to one of the most famous
Three
sports clubs.
seasons.
Three seasons. Was it? My apologies. That's bad research. Wow. I'll follow that up. Really? I thought it was.
Yeah. So.
I thought it was only one, and I thought it might have been two, but it was 3 full seasons before you went to Collingwood.
Yeah, 3 full seasons. Got drafted in 97, first year 98. Played 36 games in 3 years, 12 in my first season, which was good. 18 in my second year. Then I had a bit of a fizzer in my third year, some fitness injury issues and a bit of form issues as well. And new coach Damien Drum and I didn't get along overly well for whatever reason. And, we came to a mutual agreement of some sort to do a trade. And it worked. Yeah, I think it worked for both parties in the end.
Okay, so you went from Damien Drum and then to Collingwood to Mick Malthouse. Is that true? Or
yep, Damien Drum was my last coach. Oh, I had Jared Neesham in my first season, who was obviously a premiership coach at Claremont Football Club in the Waffle, and he was introduced as coach as the inaugural Fremantle Docker team, obviously, and brought a whole heap of Claremont boys with him. And then obviously they got their supplementary draft picks and so forth as they went along and built that club, and that was good. I was sort of, I think in the third season, fourth season in the competition, I obviously got drafted over there. So I was still fairly young, getting together, trying to pull it all together, and it was tough going in those days. Didn't win too many games, Pete, that's for sure. We
you made finals, did you?
No, I never made finals when I was there. Didn't make finals either, I don't think, leading into any of those seasons either, to be honest. There probably only a couple of special moments at the Fremantle for me were first win at the MCG over Melbourne. I think we beat Melbourne by nearly 10 goals, I think it was, and Tony Modra kicked 10 that day on the MCG, which is a pretty special day. But probably the biggest special moment, if you like, was beating West Coast Eagles for the first time. They'd won the first 9 derbies or derbies in a row. And I was part of the first ever win, which was incredible. It was like we won a premiership. It was something very, very, very special. Unfortunately, that was round 17. We didn't win a game for the rest of the year after that. I think we spent too much time thinking about that and partying. And, we didn't worry about the last 5 games too much.
Oh, good. But would you say the highlight of your time at Fremantle was that win in the derby?
I would say it would be, yeah. We just built ourselves up massively for that, and enough's enough. But would have been sick of being bullied for 9 games in a row and 5 years or whatever it was. And the boys had a red hot crack, and it was one of the better games I've been involved with, even counting the Collingwood days.
Really?
It was pretty special. And just knowing that we had the game sewn up, start of the last quarter, and I think Brad Wera put a goal away. Towards the end of the game, we just knew we had it won. It was just an amazing feeling. It was nearly like winning I'd put that up nearly with winning, just behind winning a preliminary final in the AFL for Collingwood. So it was a pretty special day.
Oh, great to hear these stories and these reflections and comments, mate. So let's move on. Went to Collingwood with Mick Malthouse, who I think you've gone on record recently as saying probably the most influential coach on your career. Can you talk to me about the shift in coaching approach, club philosophy, professionalism, if there was any shift even, to what you experienced at Fremantle?
Yeah, look, it was a lot different. It was a bit of a culture shock in a lot of ways. Obviously, from a lifestyle point of view, it's completely different for a start. You're going to a big city, from being 35 degrees every day, dry heat, to Melbourne, super humid in the summer and then freezing cold in the winter. And look, I was kind of used to, that winter weather anyway, being from Hobart, but it was so relaxed and laid back, Perth, where it was really quite, I wouldn't say rigid, but, we had, you knew how we had to train. You knew how important it was to train well. We had strong leaders watching over our shoulder, being super positive and encouraging, but also expected us to be at our best each and every training session. So there was some expectation there. You felt that, whereas at Fremantle, it was kind of strange. You didn't really feel that expectation. It was nearly like, you were hanging on to the back of the group trying to do your best, whereas the older blokes would, make you feel included. The leaders would make you feel part of it, but would also throw those expectations on top for you to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes. So it was a culture shock. Ironically, we didn't train anywhere near as hard as we did at Fremantle. And when I say that, we used to train specific to footy, more skill work, more fartlek running, a bit more strength work in the gym, but more power. Fremantle was everything in high endurance, and it just, it was, lots of Ks, lots of high reps in the gym, lots of swimming, and I was bad, really bad at all those things. And it's kind of suited the way I and my day, and it was a good change initially. And lucky enough, we sort of, I think in my first year at Collingwood, we finished ninth, and we went from being, a team that were 13th, 14th, I think, or 15th. Yeah, 14th and 15th, 2 years in a row, to ninth in my first year at Collingwood. And then my second year, we were into a grand final 2 years in a row after that. So we turned it around pretty quick. Obviously, Mick Malthouse had a fair bit to do with that. And yes, I did go on record saying he's the best coach I've had. I've only had three, so he's 1 in 3 chance. But no, it was unbelievable.
I just interrupt
was
you
probably
there.
another father figure.
A little bit here. Can you hear me still, mate? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, got you, mate. Got you. Yep.
Yeah. So what I was actually...
Yeah, got you perfect. Yep.
What I was referring to was coaching across the journey, because I believe in your Mariners days you had Chris Fagan. You may not have had a lot of coaches, but you've had some
yes
quite important coaching influences. I mean, I'd even probably include your dad in that, given he had done some coaching. He obviously helped develop you.
Sure.
It was more of as a father figure. But you still feel that Mick's the man for you in terms of coaching influence and help you be the player that you ended up becoming?
Yeah, look, I mean, I saw Chris Fagan. Chris Fagan was amazing. He's probably the most organised professional coach going around, no question about that. And had a massive, massive impact on me at that particular time. Hard to say at that stage he's the best coach I've had when I hadn't seen him under AFL pressures. Only, what was it? VSFL pressures, or NAB League they call it now. So completely different, but like you could see that he had AFL quality written all over him from the get-go, and it had a massive impact and influence on my career, obviously. And I probably wouldn't have got to where I got to if the Mariners didn't happen and I didn't have him as a coach as well. Or one of two of those things didn't happen, I may not have played AFL footy. So, I can thank him for a lot of what I've done in the AFL system. Now, yeah, look, Mick is probably a little bit different to what you see in the media, and everyone thinks he's hard-nosed and angry and, all the rest of it. And at times he was, but for the bulk of my career, is super positive. You know, he was always really positive for me. There'd be stages where he'd be a little out of form and he'd ride you a little bit and he'd push you hard and challenge you. But all in all, he was really positive. Like, I mean, at different stages early in my career, I was scared of Damien Drum. Like it was, he tried to scare you into playing well. It was just, and I had no connection, no relationship with him whatsoever. And it's at different stages you despise the coach because, you're trying your best and you're training your hardest, but he didn't see that. And whereas Mick instilled a little bit of faith in you to do the right things, and with that you start to take on your own responsibility, and you want to train harder and you want to work harder for him and the team because of that reason. So he's definitely the best coach I've had. He's fantastic at building relationships with his players and building those connections. So like I said, so that you do want to get out there and perform at your absolute best to do the right thing, not just by him but the footy club.
Absolutely. And it's one of those challenges with coaching, isn't it? You want to get the best out of every single player and every single person on your staff, but you also want to maintain really positive relationships. So it really needs to be a case-by-case basis, doesn't it? Where you go, okay, well, I'm speaking to this person's like this. I've got to think carefully how I get this message across to them, that I need them to put in better second efforts, or I need better attention at a review meeting, whatever it is. How you do that.
Yeah.
And that's the real challenge.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Mick was a master at that. And that he could, whether it's David Butterfant or Nathan Buckley or yourself, he was able to get the best out of them for what he needed to get the team to be almost, well, the ultimate success. So close. I mean, obviously made the grand final on two occasions in a row. Was it in a row? I think it was.
2 in a row, yeah, 2002 and 3. Yeah.
They got very close, if I'm not mistaken. My memory's a little bit... when Essendon lost, I kind of dropped off things a bit. But you were thereabouts, weren't you? For sort of.
Well, 2002, 2002, we were tipped by every so-called expert tipster to miss the 8, and we were 8 points off winning a premiership that year. That was the year Anthony Rocker went back and barreled one through, and everyone thought it was a goal, and the umpire called a point. Fairly late in the game, so that was a bit of a turning point. Unfortunately, I didn't play in that grand final. I was out mid-season with a hamstring injury, 6-weeker, got back late in the year. The form was okay, but not great. Got dropped for the first final, 22 I was at that stage, and sat in the grandstands with Bucks, who was injured, and we watched the game together when they beat Port Adelaide in the first qualifying final over there. So Port finished top. We finished 4th. We went over there to Amy Stadium, I think they called it back then, and beat them on their home turf, went straight through to a prelim. So it was pretty special. It was a big night for the footy club.
Very, very good, mate. So I'd like to just move forward now to your situation with coaching and your journey. Obviously, finished the career up. Can you just give us a bit of a summary of your journey from that transition of being a player at the highest level and then moving into coaching now at a fairly high level? I'd like you to talk a bit about where you're at coaching and the level of that, and just give us a general summary, mate. You've got a couple of minutes here if you like.
Yeah, look, obviously I finished 2008. I retired at Collingwood, and I had the opportunity to coach at Maribyrnong Park Footy Club in the Essendon District Footy League initially. So I went back and really didn't have a lot of coaching experience. Actually, I had 0. But I didn't actually go there to coach. I went there to play initially. The coach quit at the end of the pre-season. I knew they had a great team. I thought, geez, well, I don't reckon I have to do much. I just have to guide these players, and I reckon we're a chance to play finals, and who knows what can happen. So I thought I could steal a flag with a really good team. Played some finals for a few years in a row, and we lost a heap of players all one year and went to another club. So So, obviously I tied things up after, I think, 6 years at Maribyrnong Park, 2 flags and a couple of final series, and had a break for 3 years and then got back into coaching recently with the Caroline Springs Footy Club in the Division 1 Western region. So I've been really enjoying that. I kind of wanted to do things a little bit different this time. I knew it was a young, up-and-coming club, a lot of talent. And I wanted to build a club, build a senior group in Division 1 from scratch, the hard way. They'd only won 2 games in Division 1 the year that I took them over. We only won 4. And then the next year we won 6. So it's pretty challenging. It was hard going, but we're starting to build a good, solid team together now. And yeah, we're 3-4 at the moment and lost 2 games under a goal, unfortunately. But look, the team's improved massively, and we've got one kid, Mutaz Elnor, who's in the mid-season draft tonight. He might be half a chance to be picked up. Cody Rack, who's one of our under-19s boys, the Western Jets boys, is in contention for draft at the end of the year as well. We're playing 9 guys a week under 20 years of age or under. So it's a great group of players. So look, it is challenging. It's different to obviously VFL, certainly AFL. Certainly when you got your coach's hat, you got to be a bit like Mick Malthouse. You got to treat everyone a little bit differently to a certain degree, because everyone's got different backgrounds. Everyone's got different jobs. Some guys are working, 8 till 7, 8 till 6, and they get into training late. Some guys are tradies, so they're on their on their feet all day, brickies, sore backs. There's so many different things you have to contend with, and you have to go, light session for him tonight. He's been on the bricks all day,
Absolutely.
And he had a great game last week. He ran 15 Ks in the game last week. So you can't overload certain guys, and you got to just pick your moments when to train them hard, when to back off. It's a tricky, I suppose it's tricky to get right, but you sort of got to just be spontaneous and make decisions on your feet. And you work it out as you go along, and you just get better at that. And it is a different concept. If someone from VFL, AFL came back to local, there would be so much I could show them that they wouldn't know. Whereas, they're probably better coaches than me right now, because of the level that they're coaching at. But it's a completely different brand and a completely different type of person and player that you're working with.
Absolutely. And you've got quite a lot of young men, so you take on a bit of a mentor role as well as being the football coach. You're doing a lot to nurture them to become, good contributors to society without sounding too poetic. Because, that's the bigger picture, I believe, of coaching sport or, just about anything, is you're actually building people up to become really good people in society and in the community.
That's right.
So there's a lot involved, and I would imagine at the top level, you get a lot of support. It's a tough job. Obviously, the media scrutiny, the pressure, but there'd be a lot of things where you can go, oh, yeah, I've got a guy to do that. I don't have to worry about it. I'll just catch up with him and check on that.
Yeah.
In your situation, you might have maybe one assistant, maybe 1 or 2 trainers, and that's it?
Yeah, look, we're fairly lucky. I got three line coaches, but 2 of them are playing coaches, which makes it tricky. Okay. Then we've got an assistant as well. But yeah, it's a little bit different because assistants at those levels are full time, whereas my guys got their own businesses, they're working full time, they've got families, etc., etc. So really, you can only grab them for a short period of time for support on different occasions. So yeah, look, it is a little bit tricky. There's no question about that. But we work through it all, and it is only very semi-professional. But the boys still do get paid, so there has to be some level of professionalism, and we try and make it as professional as we can. You just got to come to an agreement with, say, some things like, how many team meetings you want to do. We do, for instance, reviews sometimes on, I do it myself here, like on a Zoom call, record it, put it on a YouTube link, and I'll send it to the players so they can watch it on Monday night. So we don't have to get there Tuesday and do half an hour, 45 minutes worth of review. And by the time we get out there to train, it's 7:15. By the time they get home, it's 9:30 at night. And they've already worked the full days of work. So they watch that on Monday. or Tuesday morning or whenever they want, in their own time. Then we get to training, just get on with it, and they're out of there by 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. So at least we're sort of trying to make the most of our time and not drown them in meetings. So there's little things like that you can use, like, for instance, recovery. We don't like to do recovery for a whole 18 games. We pick the most important games that we do, and we might go and do beach, leading into that, or some hydrotherapy, whatever it is. Or you might get guys to go down to the local beach in pairs or with a small group of them and take a photo and chuck it up on our team page on Facebook, just to prove to the boys that you've been down doing your recovery. So you don't have to, guys from the other side of town don't have to come all the way to Caroline Springs just to, do a bit of recovery or do a pool swim or whatever the case may be. So you've got to cater for everyone. Otherwise, you get halfway through the year, everyone's burnt out. Everyone goes, geez, I'm sick of footy. I'm over this. You give them a little bit of leadway. You give them a little bit of a leash. Then, in return, they'll do more for you and be hungrier to play better footy and train harder for you in the long run.
Absolutely. And I actually watched a bit of, I think it was a review video you posted. And I was really.
Was that by accident? Was that by accident?
Sure.
On my
Facebook. On social media. Yeah, I don't know how I got to do it, but I watched about half of it, and I was really impressed. And I think the players would really respect the effort you go to, mate, to help them, to give them quality feedback on how to get better, and getting that buy-in from players. It's effort like that I know at the time you go, gee, this is extra work, and it soaks up a lot of my time, but you get it back over a season. That extra couple of hours you've put in, I think you get back over a season. You'll get back with extra energy and effort and contribution from your players. And
there's no doubt. Like, you sometimes feel like you do 3 weeks in a row of hardcore reviewing and showing the players where they need to improve, and you might go win, loss, and you go, where am I going with this? Is it actually helping? But you just got to keep ticking the boxes, and eventually you get on top of it, and then you start to see players get rewarded for playing the way you want them to play, and then they see that, hey, what Dutchie told me to do last week, or has been telling for 2 weeks, I've now done it and it works, and I can continue to do it with confidence.
Absolutely.
Players jump on board, and then you can see the whole thing start to gain momentum, and then that's when, as a coach, you go, well, what I'm doing here is actually starting to work, and then that's when you start to at your role as a coach and go, okay, look, it's working. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. Things will turn.
Very good, mate. All right.
But education is obviously really important at local level now as well. Like, VFL, they're big on it. AFL for years have been big on it, obviously, and they're full on with it now. But every coach, most of the good coaches at local level are cutting tapes and editing positive and negatives on the Monday, Tuesday nights with the playing group. And if you're not, you're probably falling behind. So you got to run with it.
Yeah, it just demands so much of the modern coach. If you can't delegate because you don't have a sports science department or a video guy, it comes down to another skill that you've got to develop with editing video or whatever. And it certainly makes it challenging. But like I said before, you get it back. You really get it back. At the time, you're thinking, oh, this is taking time. But if you're consistent and you get outcomes, the players will see and be so appreciative of the work you've put in. And then you've got a solid relationship that can really help with coaching players over one season. Ideally, you've got players coming back, and then you can really proceed and get better and better.
That's right.
It usually takes a couple of seasons to genuinely challenge, unless you're starting at the top. It takes a couple of seasons in just about any league to go, right, we're here.
That's right.
We want to win a premiership this year, obviously, but let's be realistic. It's going to take 2, 3, maybe more if you're at the bottom. And it's those little efforts every week that help you get the buy-in to make that possible. As you know, you can do everything right, mate, and it gets to the big dance and it doesn't work out for you. But
that's right.
We do it because we love it as coaches. So what I'd like to do is go through the 6 coaching questions that I've used for everyone I've interviewed. Just you can keep this fairly brief, but try and give us a few drops of wisdom, mate. Let's start with question 1. Who or what inspired you to become a coach?
Well, no one inspired me. I fell into it by chance. So I can't really pump anyone up on this particular question. But one thing I will say is when I did get into coaching, a lot of what I learnt from the days with Mick Malthouse, I found it unbelievably valuable. Taking that to my first couple of years of coaching, I took a lot of his blueprint, and simplified it for my boys and used what I'd learnt from him, and it worked really well for me.
What is the most important coaching skill that you have developed?
Look, I think communicating with players. I just think I think we were talking about it even before. Just relating with players well, connecting with them. I think connecting with them on a deeper level than just football as well can be important. Building that respect for each other. Once you've got that connection and that respect for each other, once a player knows you care about the outcome for them as an individual, then you've got them. They will perform better on a week-to-week basis. They want to perform for you, not just for themselves.
Question 3. This is one of my favourites. To be a high-level coach, must they have been a high-level player?
Oh no, I wouldn't agree with that. Obviously, we've seen with Brendan Bolton. That's anyone can make the grade. Really, just teachers are making way big time. Obviously, in the AFL and VFL. Obviously, they understand, how to present, how to treat, their students, their players, and work with the playing group. So we've seen that time and time again happen. And look, I just think if you're good enough, you're good enough at the end of the day, So, but look, it is much easier to gain respect once you've been an AFL player. The players automatically look up to you. So you've got that in your back pocket, and it can be easier. If you aren't an AFL player, you have to be exceptional to make it. That is the difference. Whereas sometimes you can make it out of default by being, a AFL player, good right. AFL player.
Yeah. You think there's been some coaches that have got into that position because of their playing background more so than their coaching ability?
I definitely do. Yeah. Look, I would say that there's been a handful. We won't name names here now. Look, it's just a matter of opinion a lot of the time with these things anyway. But there's no doubt even you would say that there's been some senior AFL coaches that have been good coaches, but probably maybe should have been assistant coaches all their lives, not senior coaches, but because of the name, because of the profile, they were able to slide their way into a senior coaching role. So that's happened many times before. I'm sure it'll happen again.
Should coaches of emerging sports people, that's juniors,
yep,
sub-elite, amateur coaches, receive more recognition than they currently do?
Oh, look, I think some probably deserve it. But do you need and want recognition? I mean, as a coach, you get recognition when you have the ultimate success. I think if you're a great local coach, you'll still get that recognition. You just won't get it on a grand public scale. So if you want that recognition, if you want to make the grade, you just got to take the next step and keep going, VFL, AFL, and reach the top. But look, I think if you're in coaching for recognition, you're in the wrong game. You're in it to develop young humans as footy players and as to become, like you said, not just good footy players, but good people. At my level now, and even helping out with some of the juniors that I've helped out over the last couple of years, you just get a lot out of seeing a guy go and make a VFL list, and you've had part of that. You love seeing a kid who's struggled for 3 years and then he finally makes it into the senior team and he plays the whole season out and has a great season. You love seeing kids that are rat bags, and you don't want them at your footy club, and 3 years later they've turned into great people, great citizens, and are playing a role for your footy club. They're the things you love to see as a coach, and you don't want recognition for that. It just makes you feel warm and fuzzy knowing that you've played your role, not just in their footy careers but in their lives.
Absolutely, that was a great answer. Thank you. Question 5. How important is coaching development for Tasmania to become a more competitive sporting and healthy state?
Oh, look, I do think it is very important. I think, you look at all the other states, especially Western Australia, South Australia, with the Sandful and the juniors coming through there, and the Waffle, obviously, they've been successful, had successful state teams and successful players and juniors coming through their ranks, both those leagues. VFL, we know what they've done. Tassie Footy League, was so strong when I was coming through, and then they ran out of money there for a while, and things have changed, gone to NTFL and Northwest, and then, back again to state, and it hasn't had continuity and rhythm. And a lot of, obviously, young players leave for opportunity with work, and they go to other leagues. And, I've played against a few, and the last game I played against 2 Tassie boys that are great footballers, and one was a state footballer, and a state captain. A captain for North Launceston. So you'd love someone like him still to be playing in that league down there in the Tassie League, just building it up, keeping obviously the quality in the state, keeping the quality of the league intact, which therefore helps you keep your junior players, which gives, if the standard's good, if the energy's good, if the crowds are good, the kids are more likely to stay longer with footy and stay involved if the energy is good around the place. So it does all come together, if you can do that. So, look, I just think a bit more money needs to be put into it, a bit more energy needs to be put into it. Obviously over here in Melbourne, you got Auskick, and then you go into under 8s at the locals, and there's volunteers at every level, how regimented and how strict they are, what you can and can't do. And from under 8s right through to under 18s, it's unbelievable. And no one gets paid. We're all volunteers, and we've got team managers, and goal umpires and boundary umpires, and footy manager. And it's pretty crazy how organised the team managers and footy managers have to be under 10s, which I'm coaching at the moment. But it's been put in. All the leagues are very, very good at putting these things in place. I'm not sure what's happening in Tassie, but for instance, the under 10s at Maribyrnong Park, where I'm coaching at the moment, we've got 3 teams. There's 3 teams. Small suburb. Moonee Ponds, Ascot Vale, Essendon sort of area. You've got several teams fighting over the same group of young kids. But, Maribyrnong Park have still found a way to have 3 teams in under 10s alone, Absolutely. So that just goes to show how much high numbers are coming through. But, look, I think I agree with you. I think it has to get better. I don't think it's the be-all, end-all, but it definitely has to improve.
Question 6. How do you manage the mental health of your players and of yourself?
Look, mental health of the players, I think, there's a few things we do. Obviously, when you're having a couple of tough weeks, I mean, you look at this, if a guy's had a couple of tough weeks in footy, he had a couple of bad losses in a row, he's got a new job, he's working from 8 to 6, and it's tricky, it's hard. You got to find a way to make sure you help that player. That's just one example. But every now and then we might play soccer with the boys, or we might have a night off and go, you know what, we're going to, because we have the little lap Strava that we put the boys on. If we're not there at the training that night, we go home tonight, boys, don't come to training. But, between now and Wednesday morning at 10:30, you got to run a 4K and then post it up on the Strava page. So then instead of coming all the way, coming to footy training and getting home late, they go straight home. They decide, I might go for a run around the river or around the lake or whatever, and then get home early and then put the feet up and watch a bit of maths or whatever the stupid shows that these kids watch these days. And then just mentally just giving them a bit of a reprieve and helping them reset. so that they can focus on something else other than footy for 5 seconds. I think it's important just to talk to the players as well. Every now and then I might have a player that talks to me and said, "Oh, look, I didn't come to training tonight because, I'm having some mental issues or whatever." I think as a coach, it's important to go to that player and say, "Hey, look, do you need a bit of time out? Do you want to have a chat? I'm here for you, whatever you need. Make sure you let me know if you need me. And, I'm here for you." Some players want to talk about things and some players don't. I think it's important to at least offer them the opportunity to talk to you. And if they ever need someone to talk to, and tell them, "Mate, look, I've been through stuff. I will never judge you," and get down at their level. I think that's really important. I try and be that coach for my players, because it's, mental health is a big issue at local level. Alcoholism, gambling, it is are big issues, and the demographic sometimes at footy clubs that these coaches, and players that they're coaching for. Sometimes, they don't have the best, family background or demographic, so they've got to make sure that they, support them and sometimes become another father figure, if you like, for those kids. So, so it's tricky. It can be tricky, but I think making sure you're an open book and you know that there's support, you've got good people in your club, good footy manager, good president. It's not just in the books, doing the administrational stuff, but is also there as a third party support.
Fantastic. That's a really good answer and something that's very topical. And if you can just make players feel like they're valued, even if they're, they may be, in that bottom 5-6 players, in terms of what they deliver on field, but they're fantastic contributors to the culture of a club, and it's just so important to make them feel like they're still valued as people. And that support you provide and the club provides through its support networks, affiliations with organisations in the community or whatever it may be, that's really important and something that is going on pretty well down here in Tassie. I think AFL Tas has a mental health officer available that anyone who works at one of the clubs can access, I think for free. I could be wrong about that. But it's like an employee assistance program, but not quite so formal. So we've certainly come a long way with that since I was first playing sport as a teenager, about the same time as you. I think you're slightly older than me. Anyway, it was just sort of toughen up. If you've got an issue, get a tissue sort of thing. But now it's like, let's talk about how we feel. Obviously, we're here to play footy and whatever it is, but okay, how are we going? Why do you think we've dropped off? Is everyone okay? Do you want to talk about it? If you don't want to talk about it with us, here's someone you can go and talk to that the club's got a partnership with. We've come a real long way, I think, with that, and it's clear that you're doing that at your club, mate. Brodie, Holland, thanks so much for joining me on TASSACC Talks. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you. I just want to officially welcome you to the collective. I've got a polo here. It's a medium, so I'm thinking it's going to fit. And we've got the TASSACC logo here.
Oh, beautiful, mate. That looks really nice. Pink's my favourite colour. So unless am I colourblind or is it pink?
It's actually a bit of a red colour. I wouldn't
a red.
See the light in here, but it's a
red. Okay, well, red's even better, mate. If it's red, then that's for me. Red's my colour. All right.
Very good, mate. I'll send that to you as soon as I can.
Good man. Hopefully we can get you over to Melbourne at some stage, mate. We can get some fun stuff happening over here as well. That'd be great.
Absolutely, mate. Want to join you for a workout or one of those runs you do?
Yeah. How's the fitness at the moment, mate? You in decent shape or?
Mate, I'm fairly good.
Yeah.
Just trying to build up the running. I was quite a good runner back in high school and could smash out 4 or 5K pretty easily. I'm working up to that. I probably need to start walking after about 2. So I'm building up to that. So maybe I build myself up and we run around the Marby River or something, or the Tan.
Sounds good to me.
Do you do the Tan?
Well, I'm more of a Marby River man because that's where I live. But happy to drive into the Tan if you're at one of the 7-star hotels there around that area, mate. I'm happy to join you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I quite hit the budget yet for those hotels. But there we go.
But who knows? You're doing great things, mate. So keep up the great work.
Good on you, Brodie. Thanks so much. See you
Good on you, Pete.
Bye.
Take it easy, mate. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Cheers.